Raider Nation, what's going on? We got some major news to discuss around Antonio Pierce after his press conference bright and early today. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of this Raiders Report show, and I appreciate each and every one of y'all for always tuning in. But here's the thing. We didn't really get the news that I think a lot of us were expecting, and it kind of left it a little bit of a cliffhanger. Is Antonio Pierce going to be coming back in 2025? It's trending in that direction, but I'm going to tell you this. I am not going to say that AP is 100% coming back because I think that the Raiders have a plan that involves Mike Vrabel, and I'm going to explain what that plan is coming up here in just a little bit. But here, as it stands right now, AP said that all the noise that he's been hearing has been from outside, and it sounds like AP thinks that he's going to have a job in 2025. If Antonio Pierce is the Raiders head coach in 2025, what's your confidence level in him? 1, you're not confident in AP at all. 10, you think he's the best head coach in the National Football League. For me personally, as it stands after the year that we just had, after some of the comments that AP made, AP, one of the things that he said was that they might just roll with a lot of the same coaching staff, a lot of the same coordinators that they had. That makes me less confident in AP. Was he given a bad hand? Yes, he was. We'll see what he ends up doing this upcoming year, but I would probably say it's a 2 or a 3 right now. Garofalo was one of the first people, though, that had some news around Pierce that said head coach Antonio Pierce says he hasn't heard anything different other than he's back for 2025, says all the talk is coming from outside, not on the inside. One of the things that I did find very interesting that AP talked about was like, how he can get better being a head coach next season. And I was telling Chugs, like, yo, we got to talk about it. So I saw the tweet come out from Deshaun Reed, and it was just essentially around Pierce said that he needs to do a better job of going with his gut moving forward. Said that he did that in 2023, but he didn't do that as often in 2024. I agree with AP in that statement because, AP was one of those guys where if you're going to yell Raiders, if you're going to wear black Air Force Ones, if you're going to wear that swaggy starter jacket that he did today, I need to see that version of you out there on the field. And I didn't see that in 2024. I saw a coach that was afraid to go out there and win and coached way too often trying not to lose. The 2023 AP put his nuts on the table way more often, where in 2024, I think he tucked it a little bit too much. Here also is something that Deshaun Reed said from Antonio Pierce, which I'm not going to lie to y'all, this scares the hell out of me. And if this is true where they're like, we're not going to switch our offensive coaching staff, that already is off the jump telling me what the hell are we doing here with Antonio Pierce. But in terms of Patrick Graham, he is up for a new contract. As it stands right now, Patrick Graham is not the Raiders' DC. He can come back. Obviously, the Raiders are going to try to bring him back if AP's the guy, but Patrick Graham can also go anywhere else. And if PG wants to leave, he can. I would actually say a team to watch out for Patrick Graham would actually be the Cincinnati Bengals overall. What's Scott Turner's grade? I thought Scott Turner did a halfway decent job this season, but also at the same time, like, a B grade. He did better than Luke Getsy, but compared to the other NFL teams, he did good with what he had. But we can't say Scott Turner should be the OC going in the next season. That would be a disaster to me. What's up, Miles? Trade a third for Milton. After yesterday, I'd take him over Sanders, no question. Graham, Will, or Genty with a first-round pick. Yeah, I think this is a really bad idea, personally. I know Joe Milton looked good yesterday, but he was also going up against a bunch, and I mean a bunch of backups. Our man 93 Navman is showing love to Brandon Jasper, and if anybody else wants to pull up and party with all of us this whole week, this entire show this week is going to be dedicated around Brandon Jasper. We're going to be live on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to be live for both of the college football games. We're going to be live for the Chargers and Texans game, and we're also going to be live for the Broncos and the Buffalo Bills game. Here's when we're going live, so hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. That way you can pull up and party with all of us all year long. Let's go to the next one from Miggy. Good morning, Mitch and Chugs. Let's hire Patrick Graham for head coach. I think Patrick Graham would do a better job than Antonio Pierce would at head coach. And the Brady deal, we'll see what Brady decides to do. I know that there's still a lot of question marks around Mike Vrabel, but here's my opinion on what the Raiders are trying to do. I think because there was so many reports around the Raiders and around Mike Vrabel. I mean, everybody. It was Vrabel's the front runner for the Raiders job. Vrabel this, Vrabel that. I mean, it's been a very talked about thing. Though The New England Patriots fired Gerard Mayo. They fired him on Sunday, and I think that surprised a lot of people. If I'm the Raiders, I would wait to see if Mike Vrabel takes the New England Patriots job, because Vrabel recently said what he's looking for. He's looking for a team that's got a quarterback. The Patriots have a better quarterback situation than the Raiders. Looking for a team that's got money to spend. They have more money than the Raiders do. I think they have $138 million in salary cap space. The Raiders have $108. So that's number one and number two. Draft pick. The Patriots have a higher draft pick than the Las Vegas Raiders do. So if Vrabel were to take that job, the Raiders would stick with Antonio Pierce. And realistically, what we've been saying all along on the Raiders Report is it's either Mike Vrabel or it's going to be AP. The fact that AP still has a job right now tells me that I think it's either going to be Antonio Pierce or it's going to be Mike Vrabel. And if Mike Vrabel goes to New England, they're going to stick with AP. If Vrabel doesn't go to New England, well, then AP still could potentially be let go. I just saw a report coming in here from Josina Anderson that says high-level league sources opting in on the Antonio Pierce situation. Every coach needs a quarterback. You can't win in this league without one, period. And Josina's just saying, like, it sounds like that they're going to end up keeping Antonio Pierce. What up, Can't Walk? Intuition tells me that the front office is going to keep AP and build the O-line for the quarterback position. If the Raiders do decide to keep AP, you have to go balls to the wall at quarterback, where you can't keep Aiden O'Connell at QB. I know Antonio Pierce called AOC a starting caliber NFL QB, but you can't do exactly what you did last season. And I know they started Gardner Minshew, and I know they hired a bad OC. But if you're Antonio Pierce, if you're the Raiders, I don't know how you can go through a year that you just had and say, all right, I want to have Antonio Pierce as my head coach, I want Aiden O'Connell to be the quarterback, and I want Scott Turner to be our OC, and I want to run that in 2025. If you're running that in 2025, you're hoping for 7 wins. If the Raiders stick with AP, I think that they are going to do everything in their power, and they are going to overpay a quarterback, whether it's in the draft or whether it's in free agency or whether it's a trade, because there's no way AP is not going to have a quarterback. And as much as everybody likes AOC, it's no way it's going to be Aiden if they keep Antonio Pierce. That's just my 2 cents. We got some more news around AP coming up here in just a moment, and some more reactions from Raider Nation after Antonio Pierce press conference, and he's still the Raiders coach as it stands right now. We'll get into some more of those reactions here in a moment, but a huge shout out to our sponsor, Gametime. Gametime is focused on bringing people together in 2025 and creating lasting memories. I always say you might not remember the score, but you're always going to have the memories from that game. That's why I love going to sporting events. Gametime is a new feature also called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. What I love about using the Gametime app is that you get that lowest price guaranteed on any ticket to any event, all-in pricing so you don't get slapped with crazy fees at checkout, and flash deals so you can get even cheaper tickets the closer that you wait to the event. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Gametime app today. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. What time is it? It's game time. Also, all those links down in the comments, down in the description of the show. Best available at number 6, then trade for Justin Fields. Well, luckily you can just sign Justin Fields. He's going to be a free agent. I think it's going to cost you about $1 million or 1 year, $11 million, $10 million, somewhere in that. And if you go best available at 6, I don't think that that's a bad strategy at all. I don't know if those quarterbacks are going to be there, and you could be looking at a offensive tackle, an Abdul Carter, a Will Johnson, a corner from Michigan. I actually think that that would be a really good fit because we need to replace Jack Jones. What up, Jordan? AP still the head coach. It's looking like I'm going to win that bet we have. I would like my $100 in all once, please, Mitch. If you do end up winning that bet, which I do remember, I think that we ended up making the bet. I'd have to go back and look. I know I made an AP bet being a head coach. I just don't remember exactly what it was, but I still don't think that it's a lock that AP is going to be back. I just think he's the guy right now because they want to see what happens with Mike Vrabel in New England. And then we'll see if AP is the head coach still in 2 weeks probably, then it's probably locked in at that point. What up, Christopher? Forget the draft. There is Cooper Rush, Joe Milton, Jake Browning, Tyson Bagent with starting credentials. Trade out of the 3rd-round pick for 1. Draft Abdul Carter and Will Johnson. Christopher, I'm going to be real. I've heard a lot of ideas before. This has got to be one of the worst ideas I've ever heard. Like, you're telling me you want to roll into 2025 with either Cooper Rush, Joe Milton, Jake Browning, Tyson Bagent as a quarterback? I am a loss for words, which does not happen often. What up, Darian? Darren, you got to slap some sense into that guy. Sounds like AP staying. Any possibility of getting a T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill this offseason? Also being the 8th pick, best available. Again, we're picking number 6 is where the Raiders are at right now. I will say T. Higgins is way more of a possibility if Antonio Pierce is the head coach, because I know AP likes T. Higgins a lot. It was something that I was told probably about 3-4 months ago. We've made a few shows actually on T. Higgins just because of some of the stuff that I've heard. The only reason why I say probably no to Tyreek Hill is because back in 2014, Tyreek Hill had a domestic violence issue. And I know Tyreek basically said that he's going to get traded, that he wants out. Though Tyreek also posted a picture with his face on AB's body. And I don't need another drama queen like Antonio Brown. I don't think Tyreek is that type of drama queen. And I know Tyreek's got all the athletic ability and he's a great, great player. But I don't know how you have a Fred Belindikoff rule and you're going to tell me you're going to bring in a wide receiver that literally goes against that rule when that rule was made for a wide receiver's daughter. So I don't think Tyreek Hill is going to come to the Raiders, but, you know, we've been surprised before by this organization. So how about this, y'all? Give me an S for starter or type B for backup. Is Aiden O'Connell a starting quarterback in the National Football League? Antonio Pierce said that he believes Aiden will be a starter in the NFL. I said, well, he's already got 17 starts underneath his belt. He's kind of a starter. I would say that if you're a bridge team, if you're a team that's trying to maybe draft a QB, let him sit for a year, and you don't really care what happens in 1 year, yeah, you can have Aiden start. If you're actually trying to win, and if you have commitment to excellence, and if you believe in just win, baby, Aiden O'Connell can't be your starter. Let's go to Jersey Boy Greaser. Call me crazy, but I'm a Justin Fields and Brian Flores believer. I mean, I believe in both of them. I believe Brian Flores is a great coach, and I think Justin Fields is a guy that's still got a lot of question marks around him after what we saw from Luke Getsy and after we saw from what he did in Pittsburgh. I've explained the Brian Flores thing before. I don't think Flores is coming, and I don't think that Flores would ever be a part of this Raiders organization, and I say that simply because back in 2019, Brian Flores, Tom Brady, Stephen Ross is the owner of the Miami Dolphins, met on a yacht, and there was some sort of tampering issues there. Brian Flores, I don't know if you remember that whole lawsuit. The Dolphins lost their not number one overall, but their first-round pick a few years ago. And Stephen Ross, he is like the biggest donor at the University of Michigan, has a great relationship with Tom Brady. So I think because there's a little bit of murky water with some of the connections there with Brady, I don't think Brian Flores comes to Las Vegas. Let's go to Ricardo. Who would replace Graham as defensive coordinator? I hope I don't even have to think about it, and I'm going to be doing a video. I'm going to be doing a few shows tomorrow on potential OC, candidates, potential DC candidates, and we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff tomorrow, so I'll try to cook up a better list of names, but I'll be real with you. Just like I haven't really started my defensive coordinator search, because the way that the Raiders should do it is you have to look at who your GM, your head coach is, and then you go find a DC. I haven't done a lot of scouting on the defensive coordinators because I didn't know who the head coach was moving forward. I hope PG's back, though, dude. I can't blame him for wanting to leave. I think that he could be somebody that could take a job with the Cincinnati Bengals, but also, I don't want PG to leave. I think he is really, really good defensive-minded coach, and you've seen him and help out a guy. You know who could be actually a good name to replace him? Rob Leonard. Rob Leonard, the Raiders defensive line coach, might be my first pick off the jump right now as a good, bump him up, don't want to lose him type of guy. You could still find, DCs out there, maybe a Robert Saleh could be a name to keep in mind. I mean, that's the thing. There are some good DC names out there. I'll put a list together, and I'll make it for the live show tomorrow. The coaching carousel has to stop. Keep Antonio Pierce. I mean, I get, keeping AP helps get a little bit of that continuity, and I'm guessing that Pierce is going to be better in year 2 because I think everything that did not go well for AP, Pierce is going to do everything in his power to make sure it goes well in year 2, which is why I'm they didn't have a QB. I could see the Raiders going balls to the wall now and being like, y'all are getting me a quarterback. Got to get him a quarterback. But Crosby wanted the carousel to stop, and maybe it did, man. I am just shocked that the Raiders kept Antonio Pierce after all the reports from Schefter and Rappaport, from a lot of the stuff that I heard personally, and to have that season go the way that it did, end the way that it did, it's kind of weird. I'm not going to lie. Fields plus weak opponents in 2025 equals 10-plus wins. So you're saying Justin Fields on this team for the Raiders equals 10-plus wins? Potentially. Like, I will say the Raiders, I believe, play the South next year. I think they play the AFC South, which, no, that'll probably be the year where the AFC South turns into the AFC North or something crazy like that. What's up, Camp? Saleh as DC could be an option, no doubt about it. I think he's one of the more respected defensive names out there, and he's one of those dudes where I wonder, is he just a coordinator or can he be a head coaching candidate? I think he got the raw end of the deal in New York, but I would love for him to be a DC. I would take Robert Saleh giggity in a second. Lauren, we draft Milton. I'm going to be so upset. I don't know who you mean. I think you mean trade for Joe Milton. The Golden, he's talking about Milroe. I would be upset too. It just depends where you draft him. If you draft Milroe in round 1, I'm going to lose my effing mind. If you're able to get Milroe in round 3, I think that's good value. It just depends where exactly you take him, and it depends what your plan for Milroe is. Like, if you draft a Jalen Milroe, you better have an unbelievable offensive line, and you better have a running game. If you don't have a running game and you don't have a great line, Milroe's getting cooked. Let's go to the Golden Boss. Do you think that there's a scenario where Shedeur gets drafted by the Browns and we trade our pick for him like the Eli saga? I don't think that the Browns take him because I don't think Shedeur would go there. Now, if the Browns end up taking him, Shedeur could just be like, yo, I'm not going to play here, and then you could have a different situation. But I would say that every NFL team going into the draft will know whether or not they can draft Shedeur Sanders, and based on what they are told, will determine what they do. But I don't think it's Cleveland. I think if anybody, the team that I would be worried about taking Shedeur right now is Tennessee, and if he's there at 4, the Giants are going to take him. Chad, what's up, dude? If Chip Kelly is our OC, I think they take a swing on Will Howard in the 3rd. Not a big fan, but who knows? Whoever our quarterback is, we need weapons and an O-line. If they took a swing on Will Howard, I'd be devastated. I think Will Howard is a good college quarterback, but I don't see anything from him that wows me on a consistent basis to be like, that guy's good enough to be in the NFL, right? Like, you could say everybody hyping up Jackson Dart is the same as everybody hyping up Will Howard right now, where the product of him for the majority of the year, you're like, well, Howard didn't really do it for me. But that last game against Oregon, you're like, holy shit, dude, that was a hell of a football game. Let's go to John. What do you think about Isaiah Paul-Mal as a starter? Before yesterday, I would have said that I'm okay with the idea. I still would have tried to upgrade at the safety position because Trevon Merrick's a free agent. Marcus Epps is the free agent. The Raiders really got to do a better job, and they got to figure out a way to bring back Merrick. But Paul-Mal did not look good yesterday. And when you're kind of dealing with a lot of the things that he's dealing with, and what do I mean by that? He's dealing with a lot of backup players on the field right now. He's playing on the same side as Jack Jones. And Jack Jones, I don't know if you can smell it, but if you just sniff really hard, you can actually smell all the burnt toast coming off of Jack Jones. So I like Paul-Mal. He's a very versatile player. He can do a lot of really good different things for you. So, like, starter, don't love it. As a 3rd safety on our team that we can use for depth, would absolutely love it. If you don't get your questions or if more stuff happens around the Raiders, I am always on social media doing my best to keep you guys up to date and make sure that you're interacting with me at Mitchell Renz 365. I will see everybody. If you missed this show, I might still be live. I am going to be live tomorrow, and I'm going to be live throughout the majority of the week for a bunch of games. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Will Antonio Pierce be back next season? Kind of looks like that.